Okay, so to start drawing faces, it's really important to understand that it's mostly doing math and not scary math. It's okay. It's easy math, and I'm going to show you that. So we are doing adult proportions. Little kids, their faces are all kind of smuggy. They haven't grown into the correct proportions yet. And so we're going to start by looking at the proportions of an adult face. And most of you, your proportions are already there at your age. So we're going to start off, yes, I'll walk you through the drawing, but before we do that, you're going to start off with just a basic oval face. Don't worry about it. We'll kind of fix it later. And then we need to start dividing up the face into the correct proportions. And the proportions are actually really easy. So step number one is, where do the eyes go? Well, if you go from the middle of your eyes to your chin like this, and then you go from there to the top of your head, you'll see that your eyes are halfway up your face. So that's the first mistake that people make when they draw faces. They always put the eyes way up here, right? They're halfway. Okay, the next easy proportion is from the middle of your eyes to the bottom of your nose is pretty much the same as bottom of your nose to your chin. So we just divide that part in half again. And then the bottom of your mouth to your nose is pretty much the same as the bottom of your mouth and to your chin. So far, this math is easy. We're going to go half, half again, half again. And the only other feature we have are your ears. And basically, if you go from the top of your ear straight out here, it's the same spot as your eyes. And the bottom of your ear aligns with your mouth. So let's do it on paper. Okay, so for the drawing demonstration, I'm using regular 8.5 by 11 inch photocopy paper. So if you've got a paper that size, then your math can follow my math. It'll make things a lot easier. So to begin with, what you're going to do is draw sort of kind of an oval. It's actually flat on the sides and rounded on the end, more like a big pill shape. Don't worry too much about this being perfect, because you end up drawing right over top of this. In fact, everything you draw in these earlier lessons, you will be erasing. These are all just blocking lines. So make sure that your drawing is really nice and light. Remember, we're going to erase everything later. So the size that you want to start with is, you want the width of it to be 15 centimeters from here to here. I've written down, and you want the middle to be 24 centimeters. I know there's a couple people that don't actually have rulers at their house. If you put 2 fingers next to the edge of the paper and mark that off, and maybe just a little bit bigger than 1 finger on the top and the bottom, that will give you the right math as well. Okay, so I need to draw a little bit darker, just so that you can see what I'm doing. But remember, you want to keep your drawing as light as you possibly can. And let me just get my eraser. So I ordered my Schmancy, that little baby eraser that I had that does the really tiny erasing. I ordered one on Amazon, and I thought I was ordering this guy with that tiny little end on it, but it turns out that there's 2 of these erasers. This one, it's hard, I haven't opened it yet, but it has a square end on it. If you're ever buying these, there's a picture right there that shows you the actual size of the tip. And if you order these, make sure that you order refills as well for them. Okay, just a little sidebar on buying erasers. All right, so I love these little tiny erasers. If you're going to proceed on in art, it's probably definitely worth putting this on your most wanted art supply list. Okay, so now it's time to do the math. So, right, we've got easy math here. That's why I started with this size. So we can do this and go, well, 24 centimeters divided by half is 12, and go that way. Another way to do the math on the faces is to just use a scrap piece of paper. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the piece of paper and I'm putting the top of it at the top of my head. And here's the bottom of the face right here. I'm just going to divide the face by folding the piece of paper in half. And you can also do it this way. So again, if you do not have a ruler, just taking a piece of paper and dividing it in half will give you that. The other thing is, remember, you want to use that piece of paper to make sure that your blocking lines go straight. So I'm going to take the piece of paper, I'm going to align the edges so that this edge matches, and that will allow me to get a nice blocking line right across. Remember, keep it really, really, really light. Okay, so we've divided the head in half, so that's where our eyes go. The next place is we need to do the bottom of the nose, and a reminder that was halfway between here and here. So again, 2 ways to do this. If you are really missing math class, then we now have 12 centimeters to divide, and you can do it at the 6 centimeter. Or if you're like me, and I can't even imagine missing a math class, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take my piece of paper and I'm just going to fold it again from here up to the halfway part, and that'll give me the bottom of the nose. And once again, I want to make sure my blocking line is really nice and straight. So I'm going to align my scrap piece of paper to the edge of the page. And because it's the nose, the blocking line doesn't have to go right across the page. It just needs to be in the middle. And then the next one to do is the bottom of the mouth. And once again, that was half. So if you've got the ruler and you like it, now that would be at 3 centimeters, the bottom of the mouth, or I'm much more of a paper folder kind of person. So once again, I've taken my piece of paper, folded it in half, and that'll show me where the bottom of the mouth is. And take my spare piece of paper and use it for the blocking line from my mouth. So we have eyes, nose, mouth. And remember, the ears just went from the eyes were the top of the ears, and the bottom of the nose was the bottom of the ears. And that's all the proportions going up and down the face. Okay, so the next step is we need to start putting in the proportions going across the face. How wide is your mouth? How wide is your nose? Okay, so first thing you have to do is put the proportions in for your eyes. And I'll take off glasses for this. Okay, so once again, if we look at the width of an eye from here to here, right? Obviously your other eye is the same size. But the space between your eyes is pretty much the same as the width of your eye. And also, if you go out from your eye, it's pretty much the same thing, and the same on this side. So if you kind of take the hair away. So basically, if we take the width of the face, right, first thing we're going to do is do a line up the middle because your face is pretty much symmetrical. Then we're going to divide by 5 this way. Then, this is cool, the width of your nose, the outside of your nostril aligns to the inside of your eye. On pretty much everybody. And then the width of your mouth, you can see it. Where does it go? It's the middle of your eye. What? Yeah. As you start looking at people, even on television, start looking at their facial proportions. People who have really skinny noses, their eyes are closer together. People who have really wide mouths, their eyes are farther apart. The proportions basically remain the same among people's faces. We'll talk about the little differences, the ethnic differences, as we talk about the individual features, but in a standard face, that's how it works. Okay, now let's go ahead and do that and translate the math onto paper. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is go back to the eye line, and we need to divide it by 5, which is one of the reasons why I had you make it 15 centimeters across. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and put the symmetry line in, right? Every time one side of the object is the same as the other side, we need to put a line down the middle. So half of 15 is 7.5. And once again, if you don't have a ruler, you can take a piece of paper and you can, here's one side, here's the other. You can fold a piece of paper in half and you can use that to always figure out. The crease will give you your middle point as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the symmetry line in. So I always use a spare piece of paper. And you're gonna put your line, vertical line, going straight up and down. I love mechanical pencils, but wow, I have such a hard time using them. Okay, again, keep yours nice and light. And then let's go ahead and divide for the eyes. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we know each one is 3 centimeters. Now, what I like to do is keep my life a little simple and not start moving the ruler around too much. So I like to do this. I know it's 3. So I take my scrap piece of paper and I mark off the 3. So I know that is the size that I need the eye to be. And now I'm going to start, you always have to start in the middle because we're centering it. So I'm going to just go ahead and place that centered. Again, if you need to, you can measure and figure out exactly where the middle is. And so that's the space between the eyes. Then we're going to slide it over and say there's one eye. And again, we should have about the same space. If it's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller on the side, it's not that important. It's okay if you're going to have a little bit off. If your math's just a little bit off, that's okay. As long as the two eyes are the same width and they're spaced out evenly from the middle, you're good to go. All right, so once we have these eyes, this is where you absolutely need to stop and you have to check your math. If there is any mistake at this point, everything else is going to be wrong. So once again, make sure the eyes are from the top to the bottom. Is that the same? Yes, they're halfway. Okay, I'm going to check my nose. Yup. My mouth. Yup. And then there has to be 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I often have students who end up with 4 spaces. Nope, 6 spaces. Nope, it has to be 5. So make sure you stop and check at this point before you proceed any further. Okay, so once the eyes are in place, well, we already know what the nose is. So if you go from the inside of the eye and you go straight down, that's going to give me the nose. Same, straight down. That's going to give me the nose. And then the mouth is in the middle. So if I go from the middle of the eye and we go straight down, that's the mouth. Same on this side. That's the bottom of the mouth. All right. So we have the eyes, we have the nose, we know where the ears are. The only thing at this point that we're missing is the neck. And everybody always draws necks way too skinny. They're a lot wider than you think. So the place to put necks is you do this. You go from the outside of the eye to the side of the face. Go halfway. So once again, here's the outside of the eye, here's the side of the face. I'm going to go halfway and just come straight down Give yourself a bit of a neckline. Same with here, outside of the eye to side of the face. And give yourself the neckline. So it's like anything else. I mean, staring at a blank piece of paper looks scary until you start. But once you do the math and you get the face laid out, this is how you start all faces. So make sure that you've got all the proportions in the right place before we start looking at the details. So I hope the math wasn't too hard. Like I said, I'm trying to make it as easy as I can. And the next lesson, we will do the eyes, and we will go through exactly how to draw the shape of an eye, every single part of it. And I have figured out some pretty cool ways to shade eyes. And if you ask anybody who has ever taken art, I'm pretty sure 99.9% of them will say the drawing and the shading of the eye was their very favorite lesson in all of high school art class.